Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Classroom Champions Live. Today, we have a special Classroom Champions Live coming up. We have two amazing athletes. We're going to start the session with a conversation with Kyvan Gadsden. We're going to finish off with our normal Tasty Tuesday with Tiffany Parker and Paul's Pujats. Kyvan Gadsden, to start off with, he's a freestyle wrestler with Team USA. He's a U.S. Open champ. He's a bronze medalist at the World Cup. And he's also a father. So we're going to start off with a conversation with Kyvan, and then we're going to dive into Tasty Tuesday just after that. So to start off, I want to introduce our regular Tasty Tuesday host, Tiffany Parker. Welcome, Tiffany. How are you?
Doing super well, Emily. Hey, guys at home. Thank you guys all for joining on today. And Kyvan, super excited for a chance to just, get your overview and just kind of how you feel about the things that are going on in the world right now, because it is a very serious issue. And a lot of kids and even parents at home are just really unfamiliar on like how to navigate this and what it looks like to have conversations with like your kids. I know you have a 9-year-old at home, and I want to know personally, and I know the kids at home can definitely have a great influence on just hearing like what emotions have really just been brought up with everything going on from social media to the news and being an African American Black male in the world right now. So talk to me a little bit about any experiences or anything that you've experienced during this time and what that feels for you.
Well, first off, I want to say thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to use my voice and my platform and connect and collaborate with you all. The most recent experience I had was yesterday with everything there. I live in Iowa, and my oldest daughter, she's 9, so she's just finishing up 4th grade, and she's at her grandparents' house. And so she's there, her aunt's there, and her cousin's there. And I went over there to see her briefly. They live about 45 minutes away. I was down in Des Moines for some stuff that I need to get done. And I called to see where they were at. They were like, oh, we're going to a rally. The grandma is the president of the Nebraska and Iowa NAACP. And so they were going to a rally because she was speaking on behalf of the protests and everything that's been happening in terms of racial injustice and social justice and Black Lives Matter. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go over there and support. Really, I went over there in my role as a protector. My 9-year-old daughter was there. And so when we got there, I was really just kind of looking around, scanning and seeing everything. And there was a really good amount of people there, Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, all those. And so when there was someone speaking at the time, and then everything like kind of just like stopped, like abruptly stopped. And they're like, there was a threat of violence in the crowd or something that made everyone uneasy. So everything stopped momentarily. And when that happened, their aunt was like, all right, it's time for us to go. Just because you don't, in those situations, you don't want to have yourself, you don't want to put yourself in your jeopardy. As well, you don't want to put the kids in jeopardy. And so when that happened, we started walking to the car. So I walked their aunt and the two, my daughter and her cousin, to the car. And when we got to the car, I asked them a simple question. I was like, do you guys understand, why you're here and what's happening and why all these people are here? And my daughter just kind of said, well, I think it's because police are kind of killing Black people and treating people unfairly. And that was like, I didn't get to dive into that topic with her right then and there because she was leaving to get home. And it was just like, man, I think that's a really important topic that we need to discuss when she comes back from her grandparents. The reason I wasn't able to dive into the topic with her is because I was going back to get the grandma and walk her through the crowd and get her to the car. But it was just like, it was an emotional moment for me, because while I'm there, like you're seeing some of the stuff on the news that's saying the protests have turned violent. There's people looting, there's bricks, there's mace being thrown out by the police officers and things like that. So it was a nervous time for me because I didn't know what to expect. I knew what I went there for, just to support my essentially mother-in-law, and just be a protector, just make sure my family was safe. And everything was peaceful, and we left around 8:15, and the protest was good. It was peaceful. People talked, and there was instructions, essentially marching orders given out to what you can do on a local level, because change really starts at a local level. It doesn't just start at a national level. Things start in your home. Like the change you wish to see in the world has to first happen within yourself. And that's a story that I share with my daughter all the time when she talks, like when it's bedtime and she's like, can you read me a story? No, I don't want you to read me a story. I want you to make one up. And so I made up a story of like a girl who wanted to change the world, but first had to look inside her mirror and change herself. And once she did that, then she was able to help her family change, and look at things differently. And once she helped her family change, then she was able to go to school and help the school change. In terms of, there's a book called The Coffee Bean by John Gordon and Damon West. And it talks about the coffee bean, the egg, and the carrot, and how if you put them all three of those things in boiling water, the carrot that is hard becomes soft. So essentially it gets weaker by the environment. The egg that was soft or liquidy becomes hard, so it gets hardened or mean by its environment. But that coffee bean, it transforms the environment. It turns from just a bean in hot water to this majestic thing that not everyone, because I don't drink coffee personally, but a lot of people enjoy and take part in, because it transformed its environment. And so if I had any message to the kids today that are on this call, is make sure you're trying to be a coffee bean. Make sure you're not allowing the things that are happening externally to harden you or soften you, but you're allowing them to you're transforming the world around you, because you're staying positive. You're being that inspirational force. So.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for sharing that. I think from just me listening to you and, telling your daughter to make up her own story, and like how that's going to have an effect on not just her, but like her family. And it all starts at a lower level when you want to have change. And I can't imagine, like, I mean, I'm not a parent. I don't know what that conversation is going to look like for a child, but for you to be able to, just instill those great things inside of your daughter that are not just about her, but like the world. Like, even though you're not a coffee drinker, the whole metaphor behind it is just like, you want to spread greatness and good things to everyone that you come in contact with. And so I guess my question for you is navigating like emotions in this, like you're a big male. Like, we have a couple minutes left, but like, I can't imagine how you were this big male wrestler. Like, you literally take down people as wrestling, like for your living. Like, that's what you do. That's who you are. Like, what were your emotions walking back into this crowd with all of these people? Like, to go back to get like your like mother-in-law after you've already put your daughter and the cousins inside of the car. Like, what emotions were surfacing for you?
Well, there's a few different emotions. I've had interactions. I've had amazing interactions with police officers, like amazing, like just amazing interactions. And then there's been times where I've had interactions that I don't think it was anything that necessarily that they did, but just being trained, like as a young black male, when you get pulled over, You put your hands on the dash, you turn the car off, you put the keys on the dash, you don't move until the officer comes. You talk, you speak, yes, sir, no, sir. You let the officer know if you're going in your glove box to get your license and registration. You're not moving around in the car too much because you don't know what's going on in their head. And those things. And so I've had interactions that were simple, just traffic stops, that have put me in a place where I'm like nervous, nervous about like what's going to happen. Like I remember last year after Philando Castile was killed in Minnesota, I got pulled over in a car, and it had a little bit of a darker tint. But it was told that we were okay with that tint. And then the officer pulled us over for that tint and said it was too dark. But when I got pulled over, I didn't have my immediate insurance in the car. Now I have my license, I have the registration, but I didn't have my immediate insurance in the car. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just not a headache that I need right now. Like it's unneeded. And I'm like scared about like what's going to happen. Like am I going to get a ticket for this? Or am I going to get arrested? Like I know that I take care of these things, right? But I can't find it in the car, And so just simple things like that. I shouldn't have to feel like that, like I shouldn't have to be in fear of like, oh my gosh, this could turn out bad, But it's one of those understandings of as simple as if there was something going on negative in my life that day, my demeanor could have been totally different with that officer. Instead of speaking politely or talking with grace and just talking through the situation, I could have been on edge about something if something had happened earlier in my day. And so there was a lot of fear going back into the crowd a little bit, but just was really trying to be aware of what was happening in the surroundings, and was nervous, but also was just like, I'm here as a protector, and I'm going to do my best to do that and just make sure that my essentially grandma gets home safe and I get home safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's a crazy thing to hear from you, like your emotions of feeling like fear and scared and really like uncertainty in a life situation. Like the same thing is it's the same thing in your sport. Like how many times you got into like a ring or a circle where like, maybe you had a little bit of fear, maybe it was early on in your career. And we lost him. I'm so sorry. But going back to, talking about like sport, and when you have that fear of like, I'm not really 100% certain on what's going to happen right now or what's going to go on. And so, Kevin, thank you so much for being on today. And I know that for everyone that's at home, if you have questions, and I know Kevin is very, very, very passionate as a parent of just allowing that space for him for his child to be able to just share her emotions with him and how things are going on in the world. And Kevin, I just started talking about like your daughter and creating that safe space for her, and allowing her to be able to use her voice in the same way. Like she may not really be able to identify her emotions right now, and how you said the same thing, or like you didn't really know what was going on, the unpredictability going into a crowd, but being able to create a space where you can work through those emotions. You can voice if you're angry, you can voice if you're sad, you can voice if you're happy. Anything that you want to throw out to the kids on that topic, feel free.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just being aware, understanding what you're feeling, understanding how others might be feeling, and doing your best to be empathetic and of those feelings. Because over here on one side, like I have friends that are police officers. And then on the other side, I have friends that are Black males that have been racially profiled or felt like they were racially profiled. And to try to understand both sides and get an understanding of what that looks like and what they're going through and how they're feeling when these things are happening is important. So I would say listening is a great skill to learn and to hone and build on, and just being aware of what you're feeling. If you know that on a certain day you're feeling bothered or angry, communicate that with your parents. Communicate that with your teachers. Like, hey, Mrs. Johnson, today I'm a little bit bothered. There's some stuff going on at home. No, I don't want to get into it. Well, I'm just letting you know that if I would appreciate if you don't call on me today to read, because I'm not in the proper place right now to read out loud in front of everybody. I'm irritable, or I'm angry, I'm frustrated because of what's going on. And so my biggest thing is learning how to communicate your feelings, and that's something that I still work on daily. I seek out help for it because it is important. And once you learn yourself, like I said, once you can change and learn yourself, then you'll have the ability to go and inspire, impact, and influence others and make the change that you wish to see in the world, because it starts with you.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. That's so awesome. And you're right. Like, it does start with you. And I know personally, I'm going to take your story of that girl looking into a mirror and and roll with it and make it something that, you have to really want to see the change in the mirror. And so I know we have Lori out there, who is a very, very, very frequent person here at Classroom Champions. She says, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And you said a wonderful example for our youth. And I personally want to thank you also, because it's not easy. Like, you're trying to train to be an Olympian, be a father, be social in your life and situations that are going on. And I know you deal a lot with just like the African-American community. And like, I know you're doing efforts as wrestlers to collectively get together to figure out like some things that you guys can work on to just instill change. So like I said before, Kyvan, like, thank you so much for coming on and being the voice of someone that's in the heart of the situation.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Now I'm about to get beat up by my trainer so that I can win in Tokyo next year. So I appreciate you all for having me on. Looking forward to maybe another opportunity at some point, because I can cook a little bit. So if I need somebody, let me know. All right.
You signed yourself up, just so you know. Well, have a great time training, and we will be cheering for you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Y'all take care.
You're welcome. Bye, Kyvan. Well, guys, now let's go to Tasty Tuesday. I am super excited because I know the recipe that Paul's is making. So let's go ahead and bring in who our Tasty Tuesday athlete is. Paul's. So Paul's is a Latvian pole vaulter, and Paul's is a trigger point specialist, loves yoga, awesome athlete, graduated from the University of Memphis, and is living in Memphis, Tennessee. So let's get a video of Paul. What are you doing here? Talk to the kids at home. Where are you at in this vaulting video?
So right now I'm flying up in the air and then over the bar and enjoying the free fall for a little moment, but in slow motion, definitely you can enjoy it a little bit longer. And, here's actually Memphis Track and Field Stadium where we practice, but now, since the COVID-19 is still in the case, still in the outside, we can't really go to the stadium to train. So we have to be very creative with our workouts and practices.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what are you making for the kids at home today? I want to know.
Today we are going to make edible cookie dough. And this is one of my favorite recipes because when I was a kid, I used to eat my mom's cookie dough, but the thing is, the cookie dough, it wasn't supposed to be edible. You can't eat it like raw because there's eggs in it and then other stuff in it. You can't really just eat it. And my stomach usually hurt afterwards. But it was delicious at the moment. It was delicious. But now, my girlfriend actually came up with a recipe of to make an edible cookie dough, which is, when I tasted it, it was just amazing. I know I wanted to share it with other people and with little kids especially, because the cookie dough is delicious.
Oh well, I definitely let's start it. Let's stand to your kitchen.
Yeah. Okay, absolutely. So I'm gonna adjust the camera and I will show you. And I'll show you the first things we're gonna do. So what we're gonna need the larger pot like this, and we're gonna use our ingredients. We're gonna start with liquid ingredients like peanut butter and also agave. You can also use different sweeteners. You can use like a honey. Maybe what else could you use? Honey and
maple syrup.
Maple syrup as well works well, depending on your taste. But we're gonna start with 1 cup of peanut butter, and we're using this peanut butter right here. And try to have it with least amount of sugar if you can. Just have a clear peanut butter, so it'll be healthier. So we're not only gonna make a delicious cookie dough, we're also gonna make it healthy. So 1 cup of peanut butter, and also you can stir it up before you're actually gonna put it in. So just stir it up with a spoon, and because the oils usually, when the peanut butter is with healthy oils and there are not any additives, when the oil actually is on the top, that's when you know it's the good kind of peanut butter. So we're gonna stir it up. Then we're gonna add 1 cup of the peanut butter inside of the measurement cup. You can also use just a normal cup, but it's just easier to use measure cups already ready. So we're gonna put it in there. 1 cup. Look how creamy it is. It's already delicious. All the way. There we go. Now we're gonna add it to our what's it called? Bowl. Remember language. And scoop it out. Try to scoop it all out. Have it all in there. Nothing goes to waste.
I love it. And kids, if you have peanut butter allergies at home, you can always use sunflower seed butter, I'm sure.
Yes. Almond butter, sunflower butter, any other kind of butter. If you have any allergies to peanut butter, absolutely. Yep. And then how much we have for this one? Half cup. Now, half cup of the sweetener. I used agave for this one, and we just pour it all in. You can use honey or maple syrup, as mentioned before. And we're trying to avoid any processed sugars as much as we can. So just have like the most natural ones that we can find. So this is going to be half a cup. And there's also going to be a recipe, if I'm mistaken, by the end of the video as well. And on the post, so it'll be easy to follow it. So we also mix it up all in there. Then next part is 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract to give it a better taste. So we're going to use this vanilla extract right here. And those are the stuff.
Lori at home says, Pauls, what's the name of your girlfriend? We need to thank her for making the tasty recipe.
Right here too. Come say hello. Linda.
Hi guys.
Hey, Linda.
And now we're going to mix up the liquid. So all the liquid stuff. Stir it up. Hopefully it won't spill. And next part, we're going to have our dry stuff. So flour, pinch of salt. Yep, pinch of salt is the first one's gonna go in there. We use Himalayan pinch of salt. It's just like a little pink salt, also very, very tasty.
And a side note from me, if your peanut butter is salted, don't use a pinch of salt. Ours has only peanuts, that's why we add a little pinch of salt, because it brings out the sweetness.
Good. Thanks for that note, Linda. I actually didn't realize that. That is a great thing to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next thing, we have flour, and we're using oat flour, which is very, very good, especially if you want to have that nice consistency of the dough. You can also use coconut flour and then almond flour too, but try to mix it with oat flour because coconut flour really absorbs moisture and it's harder to make it. So this is how it's look, and it's going to be 1 2/4 of the cup of oat flour. So we're going to mix it all in. Mixing it all in.
It looks so good.
And then we're going to start stirring it up, make it nice and smooth. And this is how it's going to look like as well. Here we go.
I wonder how many kids at home are super excited to see what this edible cookie dough is going to look like. I know I am.
And the way yeah. Slowly stirring it up until it's all smooth and nicely getting rid of the flour outside of it.
You can add the chips now.
Chips, yep. And when it's almost as smooth as this is the time where you can start adding the chocolate chips. And we're gonna have half a cup of chocolate chips. We use dark chocolate. It was above 60%, and that kind of chocolate you want to use for your cookie doughs is the healthiest ones too. Anything above 60%, the darker the chocolate, the healthier it is.
Oh, good to know. Charlotte says, me. She's super excited for your edible cookie dough at home.
Yeah. And then we're gonna mix it all up. Gets a little harder. It's a little bit harder, but it's getting closer to being already, so to say, finished and ready. It's super simple, super fast recipe. This is what I love about this. Like very, very easy, and it's not bad. It's really good for you too. That's the best part of it. Okay. It seems to be pretty smooth already. You can see the consistency, very, very nice and doughy. So yeah, yep, this is the consistency that you want to have for that cookie dough. All right.
It looks so good.
Next part. Now this is on you. You need to mix any other spices like to improve the cookie dough. If you like cinnamon or maybe you like pumpkin spice, you can mix in those too as well for your own taste. That is up to you if you want to. Should we mix actually? Question for the kiddos here. Should we mix any of these? And
I'm gonna call on Charlotte. Charlotte, pumpkin or cinnamon? Since she loves cookie dough so much, I'm sure she will say an answer.
Or maybe no spice. Some people like
maybe nothing. So I have a question as you're mixing up your cookie dough. So who's the cook in the house? Is it you? Or is it Linda?
Both of us.
Of you guys.
We love to cook. It is just so enjoyable. Honestly, we cook both together. Usually if we have both time. Cinnamon? Okay, we're gonna put in some cinnamon there. We love to cook, and honestly, we don't even need to talk to each other when we're starting to make something. We know what each needs to be done to make the food delicious. And together it's so much faster, and the energy and the love that you're putting in the food just makes it very, very tasty, very delicious.
Aww.
And you know what you're putting in there.
That is true.
We're putting, how much we're gonna put? Half a teaspoon?
Let's go for 1 teaspoon.
We're gonna do 1 teaspoon. We're gonna put 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. The crowd has spoken.
Well, Riley says she's been asking about making edible cookie dough, so it's a perfect time to be learning a healthy recipe in order to make it.
Because, I would love to eat cookie dough all the time, but most recipes that have the cookie dough, the edible cookie doughs, they're not too healthy. But this is the healthy kind of way how you can make it good and make it not bad for you at all. So yeah, that's good.
Awesome.
Now, the next thing we're gonna have to do is going to make chocolate, right? Well, we're gonna have to put this one in the tray, and then we're gonna make a chocolate. So if you can find a tray, find a nice square-shaped tray, if you can, something like this. And then we're going to start placing it in the tray. Start placing it in. And you can also not use a spoon. You can use your hands as well, easily. You don't have to use a spoon for this one. You can get a little dirty here, too. But yeah, when I was a kid, I wasn't able to really eat that much of the cookie dough that my mom was baking because they mixed in eggs in it, and you can't really eat raw eggs. And my stomach, a lot of times, usually hurt after eating too much of that cookie dough because I loved cookie dough that my mom was making, but it wasn't really edible. It needed to be cooked. And well, finally have the recipe. Okay. Yep.
So it's best to just use your hands.
Okay.
I love how Linda took over. You're not doing this right. So for the kids at home, Linda says you can use your hands.
So this batter doesn't really stick to your hands, so you just press it like really firmly in this tray, and we're gonna place it in the freezer and make chocolate for the top layer later on. Okay. No. You can start making the chocolate.
Okay. So while Linda is making the dough nice and firm, we're gonna start making the chocolate. And who would measure this with chocolate?
We can actually switch. So yeah, you just want to firmly press it in and put it in the freezer while making the chocolate.
Making nice. This is how it looks like. Maybe the light is gonna reflect. There. Oh, there
it looks good from my angle. I love it.
That's how it looks like here. And also doesn't fall off, so that's good too. Yep. And take a look if there's no like air in between them or underneath, so it'll be nice and smooth. Okay, and now we're gonna place it in the freezer. Mm-hmm. And ideally, you want to hold it there not for too long, like how much? 20 minutes? 10 minutes?
Basically, while making the chocolate. And for the chocolate, you're going to need like a small pot, a whisk, and what you want to do is add equal parts of coconut oil, cocoa powder, and agave syrup. And we're going to use 2 tablespoons of everything.
So 2 tablespoons of coconut oil and 2 tablespoons of cocoa baking powder and 2 tablespoons of blue agave. So we're using this cocoa baking powder. So it looks really just like a powder. That's it.
So nice. Yeah, and the plus side about this is all the kids at home are going to be able to join along, and they'll have the PDF printable version if they need that, to be able to follow along and put their chocolate on their cookie dough. So all the kids at home, I want to challenge you to be like Paul's and Linda in the kitchen. And I want you guys to make your cookie dough recipe. Charlotte, you can add cinnamon into it if you want to, but we want to see what your cookie dough looks like at home. Make it with your parents or your guardians. Take a photo, share it with us. Make sure you hashtag Classroom Champions. And I know I'm looking forward to it because I personally love cookie dough. So Paul's and Linda, thank you so much for allowing us to go inside of your kitchen. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I know the kids at home are going to have tons of questions. So if you guys at home have questions for Paul's and Linda, you can put comments inside of the comment box. We will get back to you, and we will see you guys soon.
Later.
Bye, guys.